Sufi as a term that needs to be defined, because a lot of people claim to be Sufis that have nothing to do with Sufis. One of the Mauritanian scholars said, عاش بها القوم بخير عيشة فصيرت من بعدهم معيشة يدعى الذي يمشي عليه السارق وسارقها اليوم حزب هالك. That and he's talking about the Sufis. He said there was a people that lived the best life, the life of the Sufi. But afterwards they turned it into a livelihood. And you call the one, they used to call the one who goes down that path a salik. Salik means you're on the Sufi path. He said, but today that group is Hizbun Halik. It's a sect that's going to be destroyed or perish. His point is that Sufism, like all the other traditions in Islam, became corrupted. Even Hassan al-Basri early on said about the Sufis, he said it was a name, it was a reality without a name, but now it's a name without a reality. So the Sahaba were all Sufis without that name Sufi. And that's if you define Sufi to mean, Sidi Ahmed Zarruq in Qawaid al-Tasawwuf, he said there are more than 2,000 definitions of Tasawwuf, but all of them revolve around the fundamental definition, صدق التوجه إلى الله, sincere inner directedness to God. So if you define Tasawwuf as sincere inner directedness to God, then it's a good thing. If you define it as something else, I don't know. So when people talk about the Sufis, if you go to the Muslim world, there's people that call themselves Sufis, and later they distinguish between Sufiya and Mutasawwifa. The Mutasawwifa were people that pretended to be Sufis. The Sufiya, and early on, the Muslims had positive things to say about Sufis. They were a group of people, the early ones were very much into zuhud, which is detachment from the world. They were called the bakka'un, the weepers, because they cried all the time. Rabi' al-Adawiyya introduced love into the scenario, and it became less of a fear of God and more of a love of God. So, but Ibn Ashir, who died in 1040 in the Islamic period, in the 17th century, in the Christian era, Ibn Ashir, who wrote the textbook of North African, West African Islam. Everybody in Morocco that went to even a kutab, just a basic school, learned Ibn Ashir by heart, and that was the basis of religion. And he begins the book by في عقد الأشعري وفقه مالك وفي طريقة الجنيد السالك. In the madhab of Imam Malik, the aqidah of Imam al-Ash'ari, and the path of Junayd al-Salik. I mean, that was Islam to North Africans, West Africans since the beginning. And you'll find the isnad goes back all three. And so traditionally, I mean, there's a lot of corruption in Tasawwuf, but overall, Tasawwuf has been a central and extremely important force in keeping Islam centered in rahmah and love. And when you remove those principles from Islam, it becomes a harsh thing. And this is why the people that hate Tasawwuf are noted for their harshness. It's as simple as that. And I would rather be on a boat with Sufi Mubtadi'ah than with these other group. Like if the ship sank and there was a boat, and I saw, this kind of Salafi Wahhabi group, and then I saw a bunch of Sufis singing qasidas, I'd much rather get on the boat with the Sufis, because the Wahhabis will end up throwing you overboard, saying your aqidah is not sound or something like that, and there's only food for a few of us. The Sufis, they'll just marhaban, come on, it's all good. So that's the truth. I'm sorry, and I'm not somebody that attacks groups. I don't like attacking groups and things like that. And people, if you look, I mean, I've had a public career for many, many years. You'll be hard-pressed to find me speaking ill of any group.